Hello everyone and welcome to my talk. My name is Iraide Ibarretxe-Antuñano from the University of Zaragoza, and today I'm going to talk to you about the aesthetics of Basque ideophones and beyond. First, I will start with a short description of Basque and Basque ideophones. Basque is a language isolate in the southwestern of Europe. It's quite popular among language scientists due to some of its typological features. But one of those features is just the existence of a rich repertoire of ideophones. In general, Basque ideophones can be said to form an open lexical word class. They are characterized by different structural properties like vowel harmony or disharmony, palatalization, specific phonemes and phonotactics, reduplication, and so on. And they also have specific semantic properties, and they turn up in semantic fields like actions and events, objects, physical and psychological characteristics, nature. In a way, those features or those characteristics are the typical ones, the usual suspects that turn up in ideophones across languages. But the best way to feel how Basque ideophone looks like or sounds like is just to see a Basque speaker actually talk and describe one of them. And this is what you see now. This speaker will tell you what mara means.
Mara, esto binoz bere eurik. Mara egin beti edurre, eta da, luma modure, suave, berantza horrelako. Maramarrekeko edurrek izan dago, ez da balio txotorrak, ez da balio harrik, ez da beste edurre mota batzuk ez dute maramarrek. Maramarra dator edurru lumak beratuten direnen, ez maramarra.
As you see in this minute that it took him to explain what mara is, not only he described exactly when it can be used and the type of snow or snowing that mara might describe, but I hope you also saw the movements, the gestures that he was doing while describing this ideophone. This is just a very typical ideophone, not just structurally, but also as far as meaning is concerned. Okay, Basque ideophones are used in all dialects, and there are at least 5 main big dialectal branches in Basque, branches that are quite different from one another. They are used at all ages, in all contexts, and in all registers. In a way, they turn up everywhere in the language. As far as their functions are concerned, sometimes ideophones are only recognized in the literature by their expressive function, but in fact they do fulfill a representational function. There are cases where the only way to describe or name those actions or those events or those objects or those animals in Basque is by using a Basque ideophone, as in this example where you have this little creature which is called carramarro in Basque, and there is no other way to name it or to describe it. Of course, the other function that ideophones in general are known for is this expressiveness, this expressive function, which of course also happens in Basque ideophones. So, for example, if you want to describe rain or raining in Basque, you might use a prosaic verb like euria egin. Euria is rain, it make rain. But you might also use all of these different ideophones that, as you see in the pictures, described from this little soft drizzle, which is very typical, as you see later in the paper, in Basque, shirimiri, or sirsir, sarasara, sarrasarra, saparrala, turrustan. As you see, it goes from the drizzle to raining cats and dogs. It is precisely the conjunction of this descriptive function or representational function and the expressive function that makes the meaning of ideophones vivid, compact, in just, short words. You have all of that information, and also depictive. In this paper, I'm just going to focus on this expressiveness, this property of ideophones, because I want to argue that because of expressiveness, they can be used as aesthetic catalyzers. And by these aesthetic catalyzers, I mean that they create this intimate interlocutive involvement among speakers of the ideophonic language, in this case Basque. And this involvement actually rises or enhances this intertextuality and triggers like a group bonding effect that you will see explained in a minute. In general, I think we are only halfway through the talk, by these functions and meaning and structures, I think ideophones are quite different and go way beyond what prosaic words do. So in this paper, or in the rest of this paper, I'm going to talk to you about the aesthetic function of ideophones. I'm going to focus or just touch on three main areas: linguistic landscape, creative and fine arts, and also advertisement. And more importantly, that just show you different pictures or real examples of how ideophones are used in these three areas. I want to focus on why they are used and what for. So let's go with the first example. As you see popping up on your screen, ideophones turn up in all places and in all sorts of types of linguistic landscape. All the examples that you have there belong to the Ideophones in Action corpus, a corpus that I've been compiling for the last 20 years in Basque and in other languages. And as you see, they can be used virtually anywhere, from shoe shops to jewelry shops to clothes to, to a physician, to the name of different societies and groups in the tube, just to announce a new service, anywhere. But the important question is why? Why they are picked up? Basque has so many different words as any other language, so why picking up those ideophones for linguistic landscape? Well, I'm going to show you an example with Mara Mara. You remember this is the example from the video that you just saw, and it means downward soft continuous movement of small light things or objects, and one of them is snow, as you saw the speaker explaining. Okay, Mara Mara in this specific case is the name of a family and nurturing center in the Basque country, and on their webpage they actually explain what they do and the relation of what they do, their business, and the word Mara Mara, which they actually at the beginning, as you see on your screen, they say that it is an idiomatic expression. So they say, little by little, softly, abundant and persistent. Remember the way the snow falls, not only suddenly but abundantly. It changes the landscape little by little, softens hard parts, fills in empty places. This is what they say that Mara Mara, the actual snow, does. And this is how they relate it to their place. This is a place where we give you the opportunity to feel the rhythm of Mara Mara life. And they go on how they just teach you to be relaxed and to do all the best for your kids. And they give you any information and all that well-being of soft and slow life or rhythm in life. They have created this interlocutive involvement. Just the Mara Mara gives you all the information, so the minute that you actually see that this is the name of this business, you'll see that it has this sensation of softness and well-being. This is another example. Tsingwa, it means sudden seawater increase, and it's the name of a surf shop in in Lekeitio, which is a village on the Basque coast. Again, on the webpage, the owner of the shop, which is he's also a surfer, tells a story about this special wave that you can take just near Lekeitio, and why he called both the shop and the wave Tingua. And he says, at the same time I was surfing that wave, I opened my surf shop in Lekeitio, and I just thought I could name that wave as my shop. That word in Lekeitio means the sudden rise of water depth, just the opposite of slab in surfing slang. So you see, it's not just a meaning, there is a reason for them to be chosen. Okay, they said the other block is just the creative and fine arts. There are thousands of examples from sorts of different artistic expressions, but today I'm going just to focus on two of them. One is Ekimili Click, with click means gulp or swallow, but it's also related to this mystical, magical world. Basque used to have Basques this animistic nature kind of religion, but also they are very not just connected to nature, but also to this sorcery and witches and magical world. In fact, some of those women and men were died burned at the stake during the Inquisition times. So Ekimili Click is the last verse in this magic poem that you see here. This is very typical to use ideophones in these sort of magic sayings, like in the other one that you have on your screen, tupulu tupu, orain ere jende berria dugu, which was supposed to be the sentence that all the witches and the women in a way and the men said after the aquelarre to welcome new members. So why I choose this one? Because in the 70s, and you have to think that at that time in Spain there was a dictatorship, and Basque and anything that has to do with Basque culture was forbidden, as many other cultures in Spain. There was this artistic movement where different artists, like musicians, poems, writers, singers, got together and created like a new wave of artistic creativity. And one of them was Miquel Laboa, and he adapted this poem, this folk poem, together with another one in this song that I want to listen a little bit.
Baga biga iga, laga boga shega, saizoi bele, armatiro pun. Chirristi mirristi gerrena plat, olio zopak ikili xalda urrup, edan edo klik, ikimili click.
Well, what is important about this is just they were not just, it was a renaissance of Basque culture, especially at those dark times. But what I'm going to show you is that years after, they also created this intertextuality, not only with the nature and the sorcery, magical Basque traditional world, but also with this group of artists. And what you have here on the screen, this is an installation called Ekimili Click, where they talk about the work of one of those members. And also, Ekimili Click is the name of a theatre play, which was created by Marie Dayon, a foreign actually artist, and it was touring around not just the Basque country but other places. And she specifically chose that name, that powerful name, because she wanted to trigger up all this magical and dark world of witches and the feelings that we feel in this world. Another one is the Tirikitaki, which is an idiophone that means hit on an anvil, or Tirikitaki, which is the sound of the hammering. And it is one of the sentences of a popular folk song that has many different versions. It's one of those very popular folk old songs that has been adapted, to kids, like this one for, like Tirikitaki, that were clowns, Basque clowns. But it's also the name for a collection of books that teach kids to write and read. It's also the name, and it's used, like in this case, for an art jewelry gallery in San Sebastian. But the one I want to show you is this poem by Vitoriano Gaida, where if you see in the first verse and then repeat it, which is like the way these poems work, he actually goes back to the meaning, to the physical meaning of Tirikitaki, which is just the sound of the hammer, and relates all that musicality from the popular, the folk songs, the sound of the hammer, to refer to Oteiza, which was an architect and a famous sculptor in the Basque country, and he devoted a series of poems to his person. So this is all that context, just brought up by three words, in this case, Tirikitaki. Finally, I'm going to talk to you very briefly about advertising, and I'm going to go back to this shirimiri, this drizzle, very popular in the north of Spain and in the Basque country especially, that has been used in this advert for Heineken, which you all know, this Dutch beer. And this is a campaign from a couple of years ago, and it was launched in the summer. And they say here, the shirimiri does not change plants, it makes them cooler. This is interesting for two reasons, not just the campaign itself. In the Basque country, it rains all the time. In summer, it rains and it drizzles a lot. So the negativity of the drizzle, the polarity is changed, and in the advert, they make it something cool, which is nice. But also because, as you see, the language in which it is used is Spanish, not Basque. So it has sort of go beyond the language boundary. Drizzle, or this shirimiri, is also the name of a hotel and many other things in the Basque country. Here is spelled with an S, which is also possible. But what is interesting about this hotel is just they have these sentences on the walls where they explain what shirimiri means and why, what happens with shirimiri, in this case in Bilbao. And I'm going to read the second one. Soft, persistent rain that frequently falls onto Bilbao, but doesn't manage to make Bilbao people use umbrellas. And this is true. We don't use umbrellas because drizzle is not even rain. So here, the use of ideophones here is very much related to what Chills used to say about Zulu and Zuluness. That is, ideophones are recognized as part of the speaker's identity and used as such. And in the same way, I think Basque ideophones have used or raised this Basqueness, the essence of what Basque is. In the last example I'm going to show you, it's interesting not only because it's a TV series, but also because it was shown in the national TV in Spain. That is, in a context where people do not know about the language, but might identify a few stereotypes of how Basque people are and what they do. In this series, you have a Basque cook, and cookery is also a typical characteristic of Basque and the Basque country itself. And the woman, it's from Andalusia, and the whole series is, they got together and all the stereotypes about uniting two, different people. And here, he is telling her how to prepare a dish because they have a family important dinner. Just watch and enjoy.
Carmen, por favor, ¿qué estás haciendo? Eso hay que llenarlo suave, es un chirris.
Ah, bueno, suave.
Venga.
¿Chirris?
No, chirris, Carmen, chirris.
¿Chirris?
No, a ver, es que es un chirris, que esto luego va emplatado con el fuego con el cebollino.
¿Con qué?
Cebollino.
Iñaki, por favor, que la gente se sirva al fuego con el panecillo como está hecho de toda la vida de Dios, cariño. Venga, chirris.
Well, as you see, the ideophone there is chirris, so it actually means slide or gliding. and also is the way that this cook wants that dish to be prepared. The whole series is in Spanish, and as you see, one of the elements, of course, is just to make a joke of how special this cook is, but it's an ideophone. Okay, so just to conclude, I hope I show you that ideophones are aesthetic catalyzers, in the sense that they create this intimate interlocutive involvement among the speakers of the language and maybe beyond, because they sort of favor this intertextuality, all the knowledge, not just about the ideophone itself, but about the context where that ideophone is used. They also are able to trigger this group bonding effect, where it is identified as something really Basque. I hope I show you that these words are very different and go beyond prosaic words, in the sense that they are more expressive and they have specific characteristics, but we don't have to forget that they do also have these descriptive meanings, that they can be used descriptively in ideophonic languages. Finally, I hope you could see the applicability of consider aesthetic catalyzers in other languages. I didn't have time to show you examples from other languages, but I'm sure you will easily find examples for the 3 areas that I showed you today in other languages. So that's all. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimashita. If you want to ask me questions, I will be available for the Q&A session on Friday. I will be at the green room. Otherwise, you can just contact me via email or Twitter. This is some references for Basque ideophones, and I hope you enjoy my talk. Thank you. Bye-bye.